Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Robert Kiyosaki, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
The big question is how much is enough? Because I think the reason Kim and I are successful is we always started small. Mm-hmm. We actually stay small.
Kitchen table.
And we do keep doing the same thing, but we don't ever try to get big. We got big, but I think we got big by staying small.
We did. I mean, our core group is very small.
Yeah.
And then we license out.
So for those of you who think you have to start some mega company or make millions of dollars, that's not really true. The lesson is here, you got to choose your teachers wisely. When the market crashed in 2008, guess how much money I borrowed?
A lot.
$300 million.
No way. From private investors, the bank, or how does that work?
Because interest rates were dropping and real estate prices were going to the toilet. And when I walk into my banker, this is what Rich Dad Poor Dad about. Rich Dad Poor Dad is about a financial statement. Mm-hmm. Income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flow. It's a book on accounting. People don't even know it's a book on accounting. So I walked into my bank with my partner and had all this property that was floating to the surface. And I say, I'll take them off your hands. I just give me the money to buy the property.
Wow.
That's cojones.
$300 million.
Give me the money and I'll buy your properties for you.
That's crazy.
So it depends. And this is my whole thing. I'm now $700 million, almost $1 billion in debt.
Really?
You know why? Because I don't pay any taxes. The more debt I have, the less tax I pay. And the average guy goes, how do you do that? Because you have bad teachers. And so it's this whole thing that you got to choose your teachers wisely. That's why I wrote the book, Fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. I don't touch that garbage that Wall Street puts out. I don't have a 401k. I don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but I don't need them. Okay?
Right.
And the other part is, look, for you young guys, the best teachers are not in colleges. The best teachers are on YouTube. The best teachers are on YouTube. Wake up. I say to young people, the millennials, you've been screwed. You're being left with a world that's absolutely horrible shape, financially and all this. Student loan debt, pensions are collapsing, financial systems are collapsing, the rich are getting richer. But apparently somebody gave you something to get yourself out of this, and what the millennials have that I didn't have was an iPhone. The iPhone is the single most powerful. I cannot believe how much power that thing has. So it seems to me, I'm not really religious, I'm not political, but I'm saying that God does provide at some level, and God provided the millennials with an iPhone. Holy mackerel. All you have to do is sync your brain to that iPhone. You have more power than you and I ever had when we were their age. Do you know what I mean? The trouble is, if they haven't gone to school and they have a teacher that is incompetent, and we've all had incompetent teachers, their brain and the iPhone are not synced in to making money. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't make money with your iPhone, there's something wrong in your brain, not the iPhone's brain. I went to war twice on the front lines.
Yeah.
And I changed. What happened? So I joined the Marine Corps. I go to flight school in Pensacola. I learned to fly. I go to Camp Pendleton. I strap on my weapons. I go to advanced weapons in Camp Pendleton. I go to Okinawa, and then they send me into Vietnam. And I came out of Vietnam about 4 months later, back to restage in Okinawa, and I thought everybody had changed. I looked at the fellow Marines, and I thought they were. And it wasn't that they were. I had been to war.
You got tougher. You got stronger.
It's different when somebody's trying to kill you. Every single mission, I went down 3 times.
No way.
Yeah. And I came back stronger and tougher. So I come back to Okinawa. I got like a week off, and they're going to ship me back into Vietnam again. I said, what happened to these guys? And it wasn't that they changed, I changed. So what happens to entrepreneurs who go out and they get their ass handed to them and they survive? If you survive, you see the world differently. And so that's what happened to you when you get injured and all this.
Yeah.
you see a different world. Whereas some peacetime who's climbing the corporate ladder right now, they just lost their job. They're sucking their thumb. This is the worst time for them. Yet for a wartime leader,
they're excited. They're excited about it. Yeah.
It's the best of times.
Yeah.
If you're an entrepreneur right now, the world's open to you. If you're an employee, your world's dead to you.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Well, the Japanese had a thing called Kumi-ai. Kumi-ai was that if you lived in the same neighborhood in Hawaii and you were Japanese, all the Japanese stuck together. And my father, who was 6'4", for Japanese is pretty big, the Kumi-ai would come and talk to our family about the Japanese sticking together. And my father threw them out. And these are he says, look, we're Americans. Get that in your head right now. So I had this conflicting cultural values.
Sure.
So again, for every entrepreneur, first thing you must inspect is what was your cultural heritage. Not that it's right or wrong, but what were the values. And I made my usual wise ass remark, only lazy people use their own money. And that's because I have spent much of my life raising capital. Today you have crowdfunding and all that stuff. But the reason I had to learn to raise money was because I had no money. And so if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in there, my rich dad always said, never say I can't afford it. And it was my rich dad and many of my teachers subsequent to that. They said, lazy people always say I can't afford it. I don't have the money. That's why they're poor. They have a poor mindset. So instead of figuring out how to raise money, it's just really easy to be a loser. And I call losers. It pisses them off. Because we all have the power, if we wanted to not be poor if we learned how to raise money. If you're poor right now, it was called look in the mirror. That's what my dad always said to me. He says, if you're looking in the mirror right now and you see a loser, that's what you are. You can't make money in this economy. You better change your thinking. Hindsight is 20/20, as they say.
Yes.
If you're looking at, you don't have any money, you don't have a job, your boyfriend or girlfriend has left you, and sitting there goes, well, how did I get here? How did I get here? There was a great book called, Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn. So he gets thrown in a concentration camp or a gulag in Siberia, and he says, how did I get here? You know how he got there? Because he was a peacetime leader. Didn't fight back. So people are being sold a bill. Go to school, get a job, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house. The house is an asset, and invest for the long term in a well-defined portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. And I do none of that. My wife and I started with a bookkeeper. Why a bookkeeper? Because the number one thing an entrepreneur must have is accurate records. I've made so many guys show up and they said, where are your records? They want me to fund their company. They don't have any records. They have no numbers. I said, how do I know if you're good or bad? Well, yeah, man, it's a good concept. We're doing a lot of good.
We're going to change the world.
Yeah.
This is like a revolutionary concept.
We're good people.
Yeah.
I have a master's in art.
Yeah, we're from the same city,
I know, yeah. We grew up together. If you're not doing well, if you're not thriving today in this crisis, then somebody to your head. Somebody crawled upside your butt and into your head and messed with it. Go to school, get a job, work hard, taxes, save money. and then get out of debt and then invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. If you've done that, you're in big trouble. So as you know, if you don't change your thoughts, you don't change your life. And that's why I've been tweeting. I'm so old, I don't know what Twitter is. I'm finding out fast. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, I said, go to YouTube, man. The best teachers are on YouTube, and they're not getting paid stupid academic rates. They don't have tenure. Most of them, if they're a real teacher, they're doing really well today. You're doing well. I'm doing well. I would listen to us, not that phony at Harvard, the peacetime leader. I don't know if it's good news, except to be careful. What changed my life was a book, like it did for many people. And it was this book here. It was called The Grunge of Giants. And it's by Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. And grunge stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. So when I was, I think, in my 30s, I went to study with Fuller. He's most well known for the geodesic dome. And I first saw his geodesic dome in Montreal, Canada, Expo 67, the World's Fair of the Future. So my classmate from school in New York, we hitchhiked up to Montreal just to see Bucky's Dome. It was a U.S. pavilion, and it blew me away. But we all have these events and teachers in our lives. And so I think the good news is that there's a teacher like you online now. The best teachers are on YouTube, not in schools anymore. And I think that's really the good news, is what we're doing is the news. What's happening in the news today is fake. It's the old news. It's tragic. This coronavirus, I don't know if it's real. I mean, the virus is real, but the media terrorism is frightening. So I've already been warned many times to stay in my lane. Don't go into medicine. Don't go into this virus. Stay teaching people with my little cash flow game. I'm talking about stay small or we'll stomp on you. So I just remember back in I first went to the Dome in Montreal at the World's Fair in 67. And I studied with Fuller in 1981, and I studied in 81, 82, and 83, and he was predicting the future. He told us what was coming. And as I've said many times to many people, it's not what I want to do. I don't do what I love. I ask myself, what does God want done? And what God wants done is real education, in my opinion, and it's financial education. And there is no real financial education in our school systems, and that's not a mistake. So that was in 81 and 83. I couldn't take it anymore. I read Grunge of Giants, and I understood it because my rich dad kept saying, somebody's messing with us. And every time you say that, you're a tin hat guy, you're an aluminum hat, you're a conspirator, you're a spaceship, you're an alien guy, and I'm just saying, no, I'm an entrepreneur. At the time, I was in rock and roll. My first date with Kim was to the Place, and she was out front having a good time, and I was in back with the attorneys negotiating a contract. So I'm not really a rock and roller, but I'm an entrepreneur. And at that time, I said, what does God want done? Not what I want to do. I love rock and roll. And what God wants done is financial education. That was my opinion. And so that was in 83. So yesterday, and so I said, I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do, because you'll never know. You'll never know what God wants done. So I operate on faith.
The reason I say only lazy people use their own money is because it takes much more intelligence to raise capital. And so I've never been able, ever since my rich dad, since a little boy, my rich dad forbade me from ever saying, I can't afford it. He says, figure out how you can afford it. How can you do something? Figure out how you can do something. So over my lifetime, most of the projects I've started, I've never had any money. I like not having money because it forces me to think. I get creative. I have to educate myself. I have to talk to rich guys. Hey, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? And what has happened to me, I just turned 72, I've never needed money. Because if I need money, I figure out how to raise it. So today you guys have crowdfunding and all that. I mean, I don't know what that stuff is, but it's easy to say I can't afford it. All the poor people say I can't afford it. All the poor people say, well, it's taxed the rich. All the poor people are saying, well, give me a free education, free food, free schooling, free manicures, free pedicures. There's laziness, my opinion. Understand something. I don't have stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You know why?
Why?
I can make up my own assets. I wrote this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, 31 million copies. I make $5 a book. You do the math on that one. I create my cash flow game. I think I make $6 or $7 a game in 50 languages. I know how to sell. You go to school, get a job, you become an employee, but you learn nothing about taxes. Then you become a little entrepreneur. You start your little falafel shop business or whatever you start, right? So that self-employed, small business. And then you have big business, 500 employees or more, or I for investor. So Tom, how much tax do employees pay?
Well, typically if they're making a good salary, and this is, by the way, the same rates around the world, typically it's going to be about 40%.
40%. And after the Trump tax cut, did that change much?
Not much. It didn't.
So if you're I'm going to start my own little business, I'm going to, start my little pizza shop or my coffee shop, how much do these guys pay?
Well, now it goes up because you're paying both your share of the taxes plus the employer share of the taxes because you've got both sides. So now it goes up as high as 60%.
So when you hear a young person, an old guy like me say, I'm going to start my own business, they don't know anything about taxes, do they?
No, and in fact, this is the place where people get in trouble because over here, the money's being taken out of your paycheck. But here, you're responsible for your taxes. And so what happens is that you go, let's say you're successful with your pizza shop, right? All of a sudden, tax time comes around. Oh no, I've spent all my money and I don't have money to pay the taxes. And people go out of business real fast here.
Well, it is surprising because a lot of the millennials do want to start up their own small little business, right? And what they're not aware of is that they're going to be in the 60% tax bracket.
Because taxes are your single largest expense. So if you're going to start your own business, you got to be aware of taxes here. Now, big business has 500 employees or more. How much do they pay?
Typically around the world, about 20%.
Now, why is it that big business people pay less than small business?
Well, basically, the government wants us to do certain things, and they'll give us incentives if we do them. And what they want out of a big business is they want employment. So they want to create employment because that creates stability in the country.
Jobs,
right? And so the more jobs you create, actually, the more tax benefit you get.
Well, look at Amazon right now. They're looking at moving their company. How many tax benefits do you think they're getting?
Oh my heavens, they pay very, very little tax. Amazon does, and they pay, you talk about all those different kinds of taxes. Not only do they pay very little income tax, but they're also paying very little sales tax and employment taxes and all those others because they're getting benefits from multiple types of government, the federal government, the state government, the city government.
Is that how Elon Musk started his battery factory in Nevada?
Well, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk, he gets huge research and development tax benefits, which, by the way, that's a tax benefit that is available in most countries more than the U.S.
Right. So if you're going to stay small, I mean, it's a good place to start, but you got to really want to come over here eventually. And then the professional investors. See, these guys are passive. These guys invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They save money. They're passive guys. They pay the highest taxes. But how much does a professional investor, like Shark Tank, how much do these guys pay?
So they can pay as little as 0%.
Right.
They can actually completely eliminate their tax.
First word I had to learn at the academy, mission. Mission is spiritual. What's your mission? And my mission has always been to serve people. Most people, all they give a is making money and screwing people. That's called the Federal Reserve Bank, Wall Street, and all that. I want nothing to do with them. So I just don't play their game. But you have to get smarter not to play their game.
Rule number one in Rich Dad Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. And most people miss that one. But that goes back to 1971 when Nixon took us out the gold standard.
Yeah.
And money became fake money.
Yeah.
So anyway, my Rich Dad was preparing me to think about how can I make money without money. And the way I do it, I create an asset, like a book. I'm not saying write books because that's tough industry. But I write a book today, I sell 50 licenses to 50 different languages, and I collect royalties for years, the long tail.
Yeah.
So my money just keeps coming in. With that, I borrow. So let's say I make $10 in a book. I'll borrow $50 to invest in real estate. I step up my basis for depreciation, amortization, and appreciation.
Gotcha.
That's financial education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that garbage they teach you about invest for the long term of the stock market. Why would I do that when I can make up my own assets?
Yeah.
That's what entrepreneurs do. Every entrepreneur should be making up their own assets and staying out of the stock market. That's my point of view. But can everybody do it? No, of course not.
Sure.
But I've screwed up enough times to prove I can do it. And my accountant will back me up. Yeah, the guy is an idiot, but he does create assets. In 1989, when the World Wide Web came up and the Berlin Wall came down simultaneously, I thought that was interesting. So it's another transformation. It's no different than when, let's say I'm a king in Portugal or something, and I got all my archers and my swords guys and my spear guys, and some entrepreneur drives up there with his cannon. And he just loads that cannon and blows the guy's walls down, Well, that's kind of what's happening today. All the old guys standing in their castle walls, and some entrepreneurs sitting there pounding the crap out of them. So exactly when I was with Steve Burke of NBC Universal, he was saying the guys, what we're doing, the guys on social media are kicking their butts right now. They don't know what to do. They can't stop us. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. The problem is the average person, because they went to school looking for a job, they can't see what's going on. They're blind. So, and I think it was on your program, you hold up a cell phone, you got more power in that cell phone than when I first went to the Academy in New York in '65. They had full, rooms blown, Sperry computers and all that. You got more power in that cell phone than that Sperry computer at my school in New York. And if you can't make money with that cell phone, hang up the jockstrap, man. I made a fortune in 2008. 2020, I'm making more money. I'm paying less taxes. It doesn't mean I don't have problems, but I'm prepared for this. My biggest problem right now is because everybody's taking a vacation, I can't get enough product. I'm selling out. My cash flow game is sold out. It's selling out constantly all over the world. All over the world, I get royalties from my book sales. My book sales are going through the roof right now. So I'm making more money.
Information, yeah.
There's two kinds of discipline. There's internal or self-discipline, and then there's external discipline. So right now, if the world's kicking your butt, that's external discipline. And if you're self-disciplined, the world's kissing your butt right now. It's up to you. My poor dad, my PhD father, he always said to me, he says, I'd be a rich man if I didn't have you kids. And I said, well, Dad, it's not my fault you had kids. I just can't afford it because I have kids. And the more he said that, the angrier I got. So when I met my rich dad at age 9, he says, well, that's why your old man's poor, because he's lazy. He thinks his PhD is going to carry him. He says, everybody can say, I don't have money, I can't afford it. He says, that's why he's poor. He's lazy. But my father kept going back to school, Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern. He never learned any of this stuff. They still don't know it because most teachers want a paycheck, pension, and tenure. They want job security. So the mindset is different. YouTube has the best teachers. This guy, George Gammon, man, he's a great teacher. Patrick Beck-David, fantastic teacher. Cardone, fantastic teachers. So choose your teachers wisely. That's all. That's what I say, because I have to choose between my rich dad and my poor dad. My poor dad, PhD, poor, helpless, and desperate. And that's what he wanted me to do when I came back from Vietnam, was get my master's degree, get my PhD, and fly for the airlines. If I had done that, my friends who flew for United, they're broke. You know why they're broke? Because Wall Street stole their pensions. It's called an ESOP, Employee Stock Option Plan. Over my lifetime, I've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's because I didn't have money as a young person, that I learned how to raise capital. And it's really quite simple. You have to find an asset that's worth more than me. You know, if they can't invest in me because that's called slavery. You know, buy me, you know. So what I do is, you know, when I started off, I write about it in Fake. I started off looking for this one little piece of real estate. I found an excuse, you know, this 1-bedroom, 1-bath condominium on the beach in Maui. And I found an excuse for people to give me the money. All I had to do is assure them I'd pay them back. So my first deal was an infinite return deal. I had no money in the deal because it was 100% debt. It was an $18,000 condo. You can't touch them for that much anymore, but the economy was bad. So I buy this $18,000 condo. The guy wanted 10% down. You know, you don't need higher math. 10% of 18,000 is how much, sports fans? $1,800. I could have used my money. I had the money, but that would be too easy. Number one is investing. Is invest in what you love. I love business. I love real estate. I mean, I really love it. I own this building here. And I love gold and silver. So I invest in what I love. Mm-hmm. Most people say, you know, do what you love, but I rather invest in what I love. But I love being an entrepreneur. I love investing. It's like Shark Tank to me. I'm always looking at new businesses, new deals. It's just a game like this. Mm-hmm. You know, when you look at the financial statement, that's like your scorecard. It's like your golf scorecard is your financial statement. But as you know, our schools teach us nothing about financial statements. That's why, you know, most guys, most major league athletes are broke within 6 years or something. They lose everything.
Sure. Or a lottery winner.
Yeah, because money never makes you rich. And so the thing is to invest in your life experiences, your mentors. So the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is choosing between two different teachers. Mm. You know, if I followed my poor dad, I'd probably be a government employee in Hawaii, you know, or a tenured teacher.
Yeah.
So it's a hard choice. You got to choose your teachers wisely.
And so they're talking to this one guy and says, well, I have a private pilot's license. And then, you know, those guys, you know, it's called the Big Dog. He was like, Big Dog in me. I got a private pilot license. I leaned over and I said, I don't even have a license, but I have air medals. He didn't know what an air medal was. You know, an air medal just meant how many round trips did you take into combat? Mm. And came back alive. I said, that's all it means. It doesn't mean I was a hero or anything, because I wasn't. You know, we're just happy to bring my crew back alive. That's all we cared about. But to get to that level of flying is the same as investing. And I think that's what I really learned is the dedication, not to be the best pilot, but be the best that I could be. And if I'm not the best that I can be, people die. And a lot of people, it's okay to be average, if you know what I mean. But when you get into that situation, when you're going in and out of combat zones, I went down 3 times, you know, but I wouldn't be back today if I hadn't practiced to be the best. And so when I go into the world of money and investing, I'm still not, you know, I'm not Zuckerberg or those guys, but you still have to be the best you can be. And that's how I can beat, you know, investing in the stock market with diversified stocks, bonds, which are the ETFs. If you're not willing to be the best that you can be, that's the best for you. You're an average person. Nothing wrong with being average. But there's something inside each of us that wants to be the best at something. And when I was reading your background, I think that's what you're pushing people, or asking people, what do you want to be the best at? And I just love the Marine Corps. I hated it when I was in it. I tell you what, they're not polite. But they demanded the best out of it. So today I carry those traits. I went to military school, and then I went to, 5 years of Marine Corps and flying and all this. So when I hang out with my friends also want to be the best. And so in some of my books and things, I said, look at the 5 people you spend time with. If they're not striving to be the best, that's who you are too.
A big lesson for you is that it's nothing to do with the house, the car, the student loan. It has to do with where's the cash flowing. If the cash is flowing into your income statement, into your pocket, it's an asset. It's good debt. But if it's taking money from your pocket, it's bad debt. About debt, there's good debt and bad debt. If you're going to be successful, like whether you're an employee or entrepreneur, you've got to control the direction of your cash flow. First property there, it was in Maui, Hawaii in the 1970s. I bought it with a credit card.
Wow.
Property was $18,000, my first, but I've taken several real estate classes. And so I knew what to look for. I found this one property. It took a long time. When I found it, I just broke out my credit card and bought it, and it put $25 in my pocket. I took, 3 companies public through Toronto. First through VC, Vancouver Stock Exchange, and I had to migrate to the Toronto Stock Exchange. Why did I do that? To learn how to raise capital on public markets. Now, the average entrepreneur never does that. They keep opening their pizza shop, and they open 2 pizza shops. And that's about it, because they're in it just for the money. I wanted to learn something, so I took my first was an oil company in Portugal, and I took that public, and everybody told me there's no oil in Portugal, and I found out the hard way. They're right. There's no oil there. That company crashed and burned like a airplane coming out of the sky, And then the next thing, I started a silver company in Argentina, and we struck silver, and we did very well.
Yeah.
And then I started a gold company in China, and the Chinese took it. So
Jesus.
Those are priceless experience. Aren't you bitter? I go, yeah, but that's what I did it for. You understand that? I did it for that. The tax department, which every country has taxes, they want to know what kind of income do you work for. So when you say to someone your age or a child to the parent to the child, they say, let's go to school, get a job. They're working for this type of income. Earned income, as you can see from this diagram here, this is earned income here. And the first thing you pay is the highest taxes, because you worked for money.
Yes.
The government doesn't want you working for money. Yeah. They punish you for that. They want you to hire employees or invest. Okay, so earned income is what they work for. The second is portfolio income. It's also called capital gains. So if I buy a house for, let's say, $100,000, I sell it for $200,000, the $100,000 is capital gains. If I buy a stock for $10 and sell it for $20, the $10 is the capital gains. This is the second highest taxed. So the tax breaks that President Trump is working on today is primarily for these guys here. So they're doctors, lawyers, highly educated people, and they have stocks. Most of these guys don't have stocks of the working class. They have a 401k, but they don't get the break. But these guys, if you're active in stocks and that kind of stuff, of flipping houses, you get a break. But what the really rich work for is passive income. And passive income, for me, I have a business. Whether I work or not, money comes in. And you've seen me. I'm not here, am I?
No, never.
Never. I've earned the right not to be here. Real estate, I have every year, my wife and I, Kim, we add more real estate. Also, we have commodity income from oil wells and things like this. Even the stock price of oil doesn't go up and down and all this, we still get this. But this is another type of income. This here, I won't get into, is called phantom income. It's taxes I don't pay, so this is a little bit beyond most people's minds. But let's say my tax bill is $100,000. By doing what the government wants here, the government may give me a $50,000 tax break. That means $50,000 in taxes I don't have to pay.
Wow.
So the $50,000, it didn't go to the government, it went back up here. So that's what financial education does. It teaches you about the financial statement, which is not taught in school. Again, they teach you FICO scores, which is really FIDO scores.
Exactly.
What's your total, little doggy?
Exactly.
Okay. And then for you at your age now, you want to know this. This is what they're teaching you to work for now. Ironically, when you save money and you have a 401k, this is the kind of income. So savings and 401ks are taxed the highest types of income. To me, it's stupid, but if you don't know any better, it's the saving money in, what do you call that, 401ks is good. Okay? In Canada, it's called RRSP. In Australia, it's called the superannuation. But this is what most people have, because they went to school, they got a job. And then this is what the rich really have. It's passive, and it's because I'm an active investor. I don't buy this because this is passive investors. I am active, and I'm professional in all of these areas. So I work for passive income, which means I'm not here. The check comes in, the checks come in every year, and you've seen Kim and I, and your mother now, she's working on here. And so your mother's income keeps going up, your father's income keeps going up, and they don't have a job.
That's what I was talking. You want to find your soul. Where is your soul? You know, what will sit up? You know, it's like each time I was going down, I wasn't flying for me. I was flying for my two young gunners, 19-year-old boys, really, with kids already. If I didn't do the best job possible taking that aircraft into the ocean, their kids were fatherless. And when I meet people who don't have it in life, they don't really have that soul in them. The soul is there, don't get me wrong. It's there, but you don't need it yet. So today we're in this, I think we're going into a major depression. I hate to say that, but are you prepared for it? I'm prepared for it. I wrote a book called Rich Dad's Prophecy, and it said the biggest stock market in history was coming in 2016. So the biggest crash in world history came in March 2020. We're going into a depression. Hope not. But I would say there's a 60% chance we're in a depression. Now, for somebody with a soul and a spirit, it's the greatest opportunity in history. The world's changing. I'm going to get out of this thing.
These are the four words: income, expense, asset, liability. And the last two words are the words cash flow. And that's why the game is called cash flow. And the secret to being rich is not a college education, but can you control cash flow? And this is what cash flowing looks like. So this here, I need this, income, expense, asset, liability. Again, this is, you get a job. And this was my poor dad, go to school, get a job, get your PhD. And so this here is cash flow. So the income comes in, and it goes out this way. First line of expense is tax. So this is a poor person's cash flow pattern. It's not how much money you make. Most people, I don't care if you have a PhD or no school at all, but they can't control the cash flowing out through their expenses. And so that's why people like Susie Orman say, cut up your credit cards, live below your means, because you're a spendaholic. So that's a poor person. This is a middle class person's cash flow pattern. And this is where the house comes in. First thing, most kids do when they get pay raise or that, they buy themselves a bigger house. Oh, my house is an asset. Now, who tells you that? Your real estate agent, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want to give you this false sense of security while you're getting screwed.
Exactly.
But when you look at what happens with a house, a personal residence, something I live in, the money comes in, it goes out, and this is middle class, but it also goes out through a mortgage payments. Oh, but I don't have a mortgage. You still have taxes. You still, Hawaii just raised the property taxes on me, which is probably what I'm going to sell. I'm going to get out of Hawaii. But you have taxes and you have upkeep. So money's always flowing out. So that's why your house is not an asset, is because it's taking money from your pocket. So very simply said, assets put money in my pocket, liabilities take money from my pocket. And then this here is, so I'm not saying don't buy a house, but here is a house that I've got. And I started when I was 25, bought my first house, and it was an apartment, it was an investment property. I didn't live in it, I rented it out, and it put money in my pocket. So very simple, the definition of asset and liability is not the house or this, it's cash flow. Where is the cash flowing? So as a young person, and to all millennials, or if you're old, financial intelligence is the ability to control cash flow. This is the difference between rich and poor. The people on this side are always trying to save money. It makes no sense to save money because after 1971, the United States took the dollar off the gold standard and the dollar became debt. So the people who are saving money are the biggest losers of all. The people who are the biggest winners are people who know how to use debt to get rich. See, debt is money. After 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. And so the people who are losers are savers. So as Kenny says, you put your money in the bank as a saver, Kenny goes in and borrows it out as a debtor, and we use that money to buy millions of dollars worth of real estate. So Kenny just went over $1 billion worth of real estate using debt. But most people say, well, I can't do that because I don't have any money. You don't have any money because lesson number 1 says the rich don't work for money. So we learn to use debt to create assets. And assets keep putting money in our pocket.
What is your definition of greatness?
Getting up every day. At my age, you got to worry about that stuff. You know, I mean, I said my plan was to die at 72. Oh, I almost died so many times. You know, I went down 3 times in Vietnam, and my days were numbered from the start. I've had open heart surgery. I've had cancer. I've had pneumonia. I've had malaria. And so, you know, when everybody talks about this COVID-19, I said, I've been there, done that one, you know. But each one of it inspired me to get healthier. Mm. And so this crisis should inspire people to get wealthier, or you can be a loser. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's just everything bad is good. Mm. And everything good will be bad. I got a job with Xerox because they had sales training. And then for 2 years, I was the worst salesman they ever had. I was going to get fired from Xerox. And so I went to my rich dad and I said to him, so why? What's wrong? He says, how many sales calls do you make a day? I said, on a good day, 3. He says, that's why you're not successful. Same formula. He says, you have to fail more. He says, you got to step up your failure rate. So I found a nonprofit, and at night, after I was working at Xerox, I would go to the phone bank up the street from where I was working in Honolulu. And I had a goal. I had to fail 35 times that night. So I just failed 35 times. Now, interesting thing happened. My numbers at Xerox went up. You see, I was handling that fear. I was handling the wimp in me, the coward. And most people don't want to go through the wimp. And that's why I don't have much time for them.
Do you know why they tell you to save money?
I don't know.
Because the system of banking, it's nothing to do with communism or capitalism. It's the banks run the world. The rich run the world. They don't care if you're communist or capitalist. So when you save, so let's say you save $1 US or €1, 1 yen, the banking system can lend out 10. So the entire system is called the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system is also printing money. And then they tell you to save money. So they want you to save money so they can lend out your money 10 times. So your dollar became worthless 10 times over. And then they used to pay you 10% interest on your money. Now it's at best 1%. And they're still lending it out 10 times. So that's why you don't save money, is because your money is becoming worth less and less and less and less and less. The banks are getting richer and richer and richer. Then they tax you on that interest they pay you. that 1% interest if they pay you that much. Japan is 0. And the Japanese are so stupid, they still save money.
We also have 0.
Yeah, and they still save money. How stupid is that? So that's what I would question. So how come that happens? Now, if I borrow money, guess what? Do I pay taxes on debt?
I guess no.
Why is that?
I know
This is what I'm saying, okay? Question everything.
Okay.
So when they lend out money, that's how money is created. Money is debt. They lend out them. Why is debt tax-free?
I don't know.
Because that's how money is created. And so the banks love it. They love people who borrow lots of money. So how do I get rich? I borrow money. And I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like purses, cars, houses, and they get poorer and poorer and poorer. But I use debt. I borrowed $300 million after the crash, dollars. In 2000, by 2010, I had borrowed $300 million to buy real estate that made me rich. And the interest rates kept coming down, so that my cost of money kept coming down. And so everybody else is saying, oh, you should get out of debt. You know why? Because they don't question the hypnosis they're under. You've been hypnotized to work hard for money, to save it. The fractional reserve system prints it. And then you pay taxes after taxes. So I have all this debt, and I get rich. It's a great time to be an entrepreneur because if you're smart, you have a good spirit, and you'll learn quickly. See, the greatest thing about an entrepreneur is how fast can you learn. You know, when you look at the 7 deadly sins, the biggest tragedy is ego. It's that ego or vainglory is the road straight to hell. And so you got to, I tell you I made mistakes. I tell you I screwed up. I'm definitely not on the short list for saint. But you'd better be honest, and people trust you, and you better keep your word. You know, you're only as good as your word.
Yeah.
So actions and words must be in integrity.
That's why in 1997 I created the cash flow. 96 created the cash flow board game. It's the only game that teaches you accounting by having fun. So the cash flow game I play at least 10 times because each time you play, you're learning something new. Well, what the game is doing, because you have to move pieces and write and all this stuff, is moving your neural pathways. You have to train, the most important thing is change the neural pathways in your brain. And the brain is driven by your heart. And when I meet somebody with an employee's brain, they say, I want job security. I want a good pension. Does that have medical benefits? That's their brain. It's them. I can't help them. They got to rewire the brain, because the economy takes place between this year and this year. That's where the economy takes place, and in your heart and in your guts. I started playing Monopoly. I was 9 years old, and everybody's played Monopoly, except I played it in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel, tax-free. And if you're really going to learn to be rich, you have to learn how to sell, how to use debt, and how not to pay taxes. That's the game. That's why I said, when I saw that iPhone come out, I said, all you millennials or all you entrepreneurs out there, that cell phone is your lifeline out of this mess. Use it. So what we're doing today is anti-fragile. We're wartime leaders, and we're going to come out of this better. I don't know how, but it's called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is like when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. That's metamorphosis. And the definition of metamorphosis, you can look it up in the dictionary, is the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. Immature form to adult form. In other words, grow up. So for some of us, this crisis will grow up. We'll come out of it anti-fragile. We'll come out stronger. And that's why I've been watching my tweets. I say, the best teachers are on YouTube, not in school. Because most school teachers, and this is what Jordan Peterson is saying, he said, Jordan Peterson's being attacked by his own school teachers because they are pussies. They're all these guys that need tenure, they need job security, they need protection. The world's a terrible place. Capitalists are crooks and all this stuff. And it's a free country. You can listen to those guys if you want, or you can listen to Patrick McDavid. So your thing on the military leader versus the peacetime leader was prescient. It was one of the most important lessons everybody should look at. They have to ask yourself today, am I going to be a military leader and come out of this anti-fragile and stronger, better, healthier, or am I going to be crushed by what Fuller called grunge, the gross universal cash heist?
I encourage anybody listening to this or any entrepreneur, get to the point where you don't need money. It's called the infinite return. And that's my next book coming out next year.
Yeah.
When you get to the point where you don't need money, you're home free. You'll never need money. You don't care. You can always put a deal together. You can always create an asset out of nothing. You know, it's like, I don't know what else. It's the power of God-given power. So like I said, when I write a book, I'm selling 50 copies, 50 licenses day one. And let's say I get 10,000 a license. How much is that? 50 times 10,000. Is it 500,000?
50 times 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, 500,000.
Yeah. So I'm in the black immediately. What does it cost me? Maybe 10,000 to write a book? Do you know? So I'm in the black. The same thing if I trade a stock. I would buy a stock at $1, it goes up to 10, and I sell. So I have all free trading stock. I have no money in it. That's what Buffett's doing. They're all infinite return guys.
Sure.
You have no money into the deal. And you can do it with anything. Today, if people complain, I don't make enough money in Romania. Well, you have a cell phone. You can make money all over the world. You can make money in dollars, yen, zlotnik, pesos, It's just limited thinking. If a person doesn't change what's inside their head, the actual thoughts running their brain, which are words, they'll never change. So the change begins when you question. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. Until you question that one, nothing changes. There's three kinds of income. Okay? There's ordinary, portfolio, passive. So when you say to some poor kid, go to school, get a job, they're working for ordinary income, the highest tax income in the world. I don't work for ordinary income. I don't want a paycheck. Okay? Passive income is generally what happens when you invest in the stock market. I mean, portfolio income. So they say, well, I bought Tesla at 100, it went up to 200, I sold it, so I made $100. That's portfolio income. That's taxed at the next higher level. So when I have passive income, it's tax-free. Getting passive income, you have to know what you're doing. So that's why I have the best, first of all, bookkeeper, accountants, attorneys, bankers. I operate as a team. Just like when we flew into combat, we're a team. And most people are trying to do it self-employed way. I'm a good computer programmer. Good. You pay the highest taxes, you work the hardest, but you don't get ahead that way. But that's what most people, they want to do it on their own. If you want it done right, do it by yourself. And an employee is always saying the same words, this year and this year. I'm looking for a safe, secure job with benefits and a paycheck and a pension. You got that? That's what they're looking for. So if I have a job, I'll help. And a self-employed person says, how are you doing? I'm the best. Good, I'll hire the best. But the government's going to penalize you for that because you're working for a blended income. But it's more passive income. It's actually ordinary income. But pay the highest taxes. The tax law are nothing but incentives, not punishments. So if you donate, I just donated money to the food bank because they're out of food, so it's $10,000. I get a tax break. I don't donate money to the food bank, no tax break. So because I have 7,000 rental, apartment houses, I got a tax break. You know why? Because I'm providing housing. And because I have thousands of employees, the tax break. The government even sent me money to pay my employees.
What do you recommend people do in a market that is potentially heading into depression? Should they be saving cash and thinking about, becoming more liquid? Like what are some of the things that they should do?
Well, it depends upon the cash. If you're in Argentine, is it pesos?
Pesos, Argentine pesos, yeah.
I wouldn't touch it. I'd save gold and silver. See, what's his name? What's his Bridgewater's guy?
Ray Dalio, yeah.
He says it depends upon the currency you're in.
Sure.
He says, so like Zimbabwe, their debt is financed with external money. Japan is internally financed. So that's why the depression doesn't hurt them as badly. So you have to learn so much about that. So I own millions and millions and millions and millions and millions in gold because I started buying gold in 1973 when it was illegal for Americans to own gold. And I like gold and silver because there's no counterparty risk. There's no other party to it. Gold and silver are God's money. So people say, well, it's not a good investment. I said, yeah, but I sleep at night. What's that worth? You know?
Sure.
So I don't care if the dollar is corrupt, the U.S. dollar is corrupt, but it's the strongest currency in a horrible currency world.
Yeah.
So if you're U.S., save dollars. You're in Argentina, don't save gold.
Right.
Save Bitcoin.
You think Bitcoin would be?
I mean Bitcoin's got its problems too. But
Sure.
I'm saying, so when you say save money, you got to say what
currency?
Yeah, what currency? The very guys that went to the schools, the best schools, created these fake assets to make themselves and the 6 major banks richer than ever before. They produced sugar highs of immediate profits, but separated those taking the risk from those who would bear the consequences. So the way out of it is for financial education. And you can do it. Everybody can do it, but you have to understand the game. After 1971, this is what happens to people who save money. The purchasing power of the dollar is going down because they're printing money. And our school teachers, these fake teachers, again, they're good people. Well, these financial planners still tell you to save money. Well, why would you save money when these guys are printing it faster than you could ever save it? That's bad teaching, bad financial advice, horrible. So he says, and then the second thing, they tell you to save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. This guy is saying, are you nuts? This is Stockman. He was Reagan's budget director. He is a real teacher. He was there. This is the whole stock market is rigged for the rich. Again, it's a casino, and a casino is depends upon all these losers coming in, so those at the top can win. So the losers started coming in right around here, 1974. It was a thing called the 401k. They needed more losers to enter the market. And what do the financial planners tell you? Save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. They needed people to come in here and push this up. Again, it's a casino like Las Vegas. A lot of losers walk in, winners walk out with the money. That's the game. Now again was Glass-Steagall. They organize hedge funds that turn owning a stock into a minute, 2-minute bet rather than invest for the long term. It's a casino. We don't know when, but it will come down. Then all those guys with those 401ks, toast. That's why the Rich Dad Company was formed. That's why I catch so much hell saying savers are losers, you know. Why invest for the long term in the stock market when it's a casino? My concern is the old guys like me are sitting there with their retirement plans, which are broke. You know, the California retirement system is broke. Hawaii retirement system is broke. Chicago's retirement system is broke. And if and when this baby comes down, my generation is toast. The way out is through real financial education. Most people are afraid of debt. You go home tonight and you say, well, they taught me about using debt. And most people go like this because they don't teach you about money. See, debt is money. After 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. And so the people who are losers are savers. So as Kenny says, you put your money in the bank as a saver, Kenny goes in and borrows it out as a debtor, and we use that money to buy millions of dollars worth of real estate. So Kenny just went over $1 billion worth of real estate using debt. But most people say, well, I can't do that because I don't have any money. You don't have any money because lesson number 1 says the rich don't work for money.
So we learn to use debt to create assets. And assets keep putting money in our pocket. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be the biggest adventure of your life as long as you want to keep learning. But if you just want to make a few bucks, you'll be taxed to death.
Yeah.
That's the S quadrant, ESBI. That's the problem. And as you know, small business loans and all, they don't give you any money. It's hard to raise capital as an S.
Sure.
Crowdfunding and all that stuff, but I'd rather go to Wall Street. I'd rather raise my own capital.
Yeah.
But those are skill sets. So I say to every entrepreneur, look at it as the biggest education plan you'll ever go through. You know, I don't care if you have a college degree or not, but you better learn really quickly, fast, have good people around you, and keep studying.
In '89, the World Wide Web came up. So exactly as he predicted. So all you young millennials out there and young people, you have the most powerful tool ever created in humanity. The question is, how are you going to use it? You can use an iPhone the way we're doing it right now to educate, to inspire, to teach. Or you can watch porno on it. What's up to you? It's really up to you. It's like soccer and rugby are two different games, two different types of players. And since my wife's a golfer, you know, I play golf, but I don't enjoy the game. She's fanatical. But she would be an S, you know, self-employed type and all this stuff. She was going to do it on her own. I cannot do my job on my own. I cannot go in the rugby field by myself. And when I go into the field of business, I don't go by myself. Bookkeeper, accountants, attorneys, bankers, and whoever else. And that's how we play the game.
The biggest thing I can say to any entrepreneur is learn. Be an active learner, low ego. It's tough when you're successful. Because when my nylon and Velcro surfer ball business went to the moon, I was crashing down right after it. It was straight to my head.
While the ego is still there, right? Vanity ego is still there,
yeah,
right?
it was straight to bed. I thought I walked on water, except there was no water. There was only air below me.
So
I learned the hard way. You know, I don't learn it easy.
If you've served in the military, you'll understand what real courage is. And that was the word I got. And I went to military school in New York only because I was such a screwed up kid in Hawaii surfing all the time. And so I needed some discipline. And when I meet people who are not successful, they lack discipline. It's not that they're not smart. You know, they can't, it's not save money. They can't budget money.
The property was a little condominium, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $18,000 US. It was on the beach of Maui. The reason the price was so low is the market had crashed. Smart investors always wait for the crash. So this thing crashed. I had to look at 100 properties once I left the class, 3-day class. I had to look at 100 properties in 90 days and write a 1-page report on each of those properties. As my instructor said to me when I left that 3-day class, I was 26 years old. And the instructor says, your education begins when you leave the class, as your education will begin when you leave this class, not now. So you have a chance to talk to Carlos, you have a chance to talk to Alvaro. Talk to them, find out, learn. Doesn't cost you any money. Change your ideas. So with this here, the instructor said I had to buy the investment for zero money. Okay? Zero money. Most people will tell you, I can't invest because I don't have money. That's a loser. Please understand this. This was 1974. The dollar had just gone off the gold standard. Everything was coming up fast. So I had to figure out how to buy it for zero. And the reason I say that is most poor people, like Padre Pobre, always says, I can't afford it. I know some of you right now saying, well, I can't afford it. I don't have time. I have children. I have a job. I have bills to pay. And it is those excuses that keep you poor. If you do not change that talk in your head, you'll always be the poor person. So there was about 32 in my class, 3 days long. I think only 3 people completed the exercise. We went, we looked at 100 properties, wrote a 1-page report. At the end of the 90 days and 100 properties, this was the best property. So I went back to the person, and it was in bankruptcy. It was right on the beach, just as pretty as this beach here. And he said I had to have $2,000 down. This is called equity. Again, it's the language of money. So I have equity. The bank was going to lend me $6,000 in debt. Okay? That was the deal. Now I had the $2,000 in cash, but the name of the game or the exercise was, could I buy it for $0? So what I did was I paid for this property with a credit card. So now it was $100% debt. Okay. With that 100% debt, I made $25,000 a month. Boom. I was a free human being. I never needed money again. If you can make money with no money, that is called an infinite return, because I have no money in the deal.
The most important thing for these people right now is choose your teachers wisely. And I commend you for attempting to help people. And if I could leave anything to you, the people that are listening to you right now, commendable. They're looking for answers. But it comes back down to who are your 5 friends, and are you happy with them? Or is it time to move on? And our job is to be wartime leaders. And be brave, be courageous, get our skills up, get our entrepreneurial skills up, learn to sell, learn to communicate. Don't learn, my problem, Patrick, is I infuriate people because I attack them. Being a Marine is not bright because I like to fight. And that's why I had to go to military school to discipline myself. So that's, if any of you out there, have young people, I have a lot of friends whose sons are wimps. They're just wimps. They're sitting at home sucking their thumb. And then now that they lost their job, they want to go back and get a job. Or exactly as you said, they'll make more sitting at home sucking their thumb. And we've lost another generation there. So it really is time to be a wartime leader.
Taekwondo is all forms, legs, kicking. So I stuck that on my back of my head. So I went to watch the Rock Marines train when these guys, they have no feelings. They're just tough.
They make great entrepreneurs, though, no?
Yeah. They're nasty. They're not the good guys, but they're tough. They just go in. So I came back to the States and I took up Taekwondo. And I still suck at it, but I took it up. And
you have a black belt, Rob. Come on.
Yeah. Well, American black belt versus, you know what I mean?
I see.
There's a difference between an American black belt in Taekwondo and a Korean black belt in Taekwondo, So I got over there and I fight for America.
Good for you, though. That's amazing that you did that.
I got my butt handed. Well, let me explain to you. I was a heavyweight, which means I was fat in America. In Korea, they're tall and skinny like you.
Yeah.
And Koreans, and Taekwondo is about the legs, really. That's called a chiki or the hammer. They could lift the leg straight over their heads. And they stand there on one leg and they just watch you. So imagine the guy, he looks like this leg in the air, and I'm this little fat guy trying to come up. How do I find an opening? So I made
you're like you can barely get up here.
I can't lift my legs. So I get into the ring. I said, "This is not fair." But he's a heavyweight, but he's a skinny heavyweight.
Right, but his legs are like
he's tall. He was like 6'4". His legs were probably 8 feet high, and I don't know how high he was up in the air. I couldn't come in on him, so I made the mistake. I said, "Well, no guts, no glory." I jumped in on him. That leg came across my head, and I was out. If you're going to be a real entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. I am studying, learning constantly. I never stop. And that's my competitive advantage. But also my core advisor team, we never stop together. I have my accountants, my attorneys, my bankers and all that, we study together. That's what we do when we get together. We don't play golf, we don't drink beer, we study. Because study is the way you win. But you have to know what you're studying, because what you put in here, garbage in, garbage out, right? The other thing you have to be careful is who's your teacher, who's your mentor. I took golf lessons once at the Biltmore, and it was the most horrible golf lesson I ever had. Because that was a golfer, the teacher and I just did not get along. So they brought a new golf instructor in, and I learned to love the game again. You know what I mean? So as an entrepreneur, be very careful who your teacher is, because they can either kill your spirit or increase your spirit. A good teacher will inspire you to learn more. A bad teacher will tell you you're stupid and you should study more. Most of your viewers out there sitting inside their head are the words from their mother and father. Go to school, get a job, pay taxes, save money, buy a house because it's an asset, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That creates poor people. It's a hypnosis train going through your brain. So when people say, how do I change my life? Well, you change those words. I wouldn't go to school because you learn nothing about money in school. I wouldn't get a job because if I have a job, I'm an employee. And then I'd pay taxes. And I don't pay taxes. And I don't save money. And I use debt to get rich. And I don't invest in the stock market. That's why I'm rich. And so the young people who are listening right now are saying, but that's what my mom and dad said. But that's what mom and dad say all over the world. So to the young people, I just say challenge or question what you've been taught. Because from the Bible, I'm not religious. The word becomes flesh. So if you say, go to school, and you say, but I learned nothing about money. Get a job, you become an employee. If you're an employee, you work for money. I pay taxes. Then they tell you to save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing money? And get out of debt. Well, debt is money. I use debt to get rich. Most people use debt to get poor and invest in the stock market. I don't invest in the stock market. So when you wonder why so many people struggle financially, is they haven't challenged the hypnosis, the words. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes. Until you question those hypnotic trances, you don't change. Question I ask you is, are you following the herd? The herd generally goes off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. How many are doing what your mommy and daddy told you what to do? Go to school, get a job, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Is that what you're doing? Are you hoping that the next person elected, whether it's President Trump or one of the other candidates, will save the economy? Well, we have a very important show for people like you, because this program is about you have to do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. Because if you keep doing what everybody's doing, I'm afraid everybody's going to go off the cliff. And that cliff is not too far away right now. What I found out, the accountants and attorneys who went to the biggest schools are not the best. I have found what I'm looking for is somebody who may be a private guy who is passionate about entrepreneurship. So they're a great attorney for entrepreneurs. they're not, most attorneys are looking for the big client, like I want to work for, General Electric. What I want is the attorney and the accountant who are passionate about it being entrepreneurs. So my guys right here in Phoenix are entrepreneurs, and my accountants are entrepreneurs. Every time I hired the big name corporate and law accounting firms, I have been grossly overpaid and underserved because they're so used to doing bigger things, they don't have time for a little guy like me. It's the same with bankers. I'm looking for a banker who loves being an entrepreneur. You got to have this partnership with the banker. I dump on the financial services industry a lot, and they deserve to be dumped on, but you got to have one on your team, So my banker is the love of my life. The biggest thing for most young people is that our schools teach us to be ICs, independent contractors.
Okay.
Or self-employed, or even if you're an employee, you're still an independent contractor who has a job. And you do it by yourself. I think much of the young world is in the selfie world. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Whereas in my world, it's a team sport. I'm a rugby player. I go on the field with a team, toughest, meanest guys I know. And so you could be the A student from Princeton, but I go on the field with 15 tough men, kick your ass. And so the average guy is coming out there, like, oh, I got an A, I went to Princeton, I went to Harvard, and the corporate America comes out and they go, boom. So that's why when I talk to young people, I say, look, it's a team sport. So the first person I have is a bookkeeper. Bookkeeper is the lowest paid person on my team, but the most important.
Right.
The bookkeeper then keeps the accurate records that my accountant can use, and my attorney can use, and my banker can use. That's the combination there. And my banker, my attorney, and my accountant must work together as a team. Most people, their bankers, accountants, and attorneys don't work together as teams because in school we're taught to take our tests on our own. If you ask for help, you're cheating. In my world, it's called cooperation. And what I found with most smart people, they don't know how to cooperate. They don't know how to ask for help because in their brains, that's cheating. It means you're stupid. It means you're weak. It means you're stupid. One of the things I stress here at Rich Dad, which I didn't do for much of the time, was because once Kim and I had enough money, the question is, what do you do next? And if Kim and I had continued to work for money, I think I would have died. So when Kim retired, she was 37 and I was 47. But just as we said on this with Vante, it's one of your primary objectives, especially today, is when do you plan to retire? Because the idea of having a job and waiting for your 401k or your stock market to save you, I think you're going to be sadly disappointed because what I'm foreseeing is a massive crash coming. It's going to wipe out a lot of people. And I'm coming out with a new book called Who Stole My Pension? And all these guys who think their pension is safe, I think Wall Street has other ideas on their pension here. So when I say to young people like you guys, I said, plan your retirement the day you start working. When do you escape from the rat race? That's the cash flow game. Well, as we know, there's fewer and fewer jobs. American corporations say they're hiring, but they're not hiring in America, they're hiring overseas. But more than that is that the reason I endorse network marketing is most people are addicted to the paycheck. And the paycheck is one of the most sinister plots ever pulled upon a human being. If you need a paycheck, you've sold your soul. You sold your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions. You sit there in fear of losing your job, or can I get a raise, or will I get promoted? And then why would you do that? Another thing about the reason we endorse network marketing, we don't think of it as a network marketing. We think of it as entrepreneur development. Because if you need a paycheck, this is not your business. We build businesses. So sometimes when Kim and I do a deal, we may not receive a paycheck for 5-6 years. And so these guys come, oh, am I going to get rich quick? And some people do. I don't know if you do or not. But that is an employee, get rich, loser mindset. And so the thing that network marketing does is really kind of cure you of that loser paycheck, get rich quick mentality and actually build a business. We build businesses, and that's how we're rich. But we didn't get rich quick, and I don't need a paycheck, and I never want a paycheck. So that's kind of a revolutionary thought to most people up there who went to school to get good grades and get a job, and then you get a high-paying job, and then the higher-paying job, you pay higher taxes, and you wonder why you never get ahead. That's because you went to school to get a job and a paycheck. You've got to get away from the paycheck, and sometimes it might take 2-3 years to get away from that. A big part of what makes a company successful is whether or not they have a brand, B-R-A-N-D, almost misspelled it. Okay? And brand, people think, well, it's the communication, But a brand is more than that. The reason Rich Dad is so valuable right now is because it is an internationally known brand the same way as Trump is known as a brand. And the real question on a brand is not just communication. See, a brand makes it easier to sell. When somebody says Rich Dad, they go, oh, I think I heard of that, or I know what the guy stands for and all this. So what a brand really is the entire BI triangle. If you're going to create a brand, especially in a world that's overcrowded with advertising, communication, the webs, iPods, print, blogs, there's so much competition now for a person's time, it really is more important that you become a brand. So there's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Ferrari, you get a picture of something in your mind. It's a whole body effect. But if I said Hyundai or Kia, car, they're probably just as good a car, but you get a whole different emotional effect just by the brand name. So I'm not saying Hyundais are better or worse than a Ferrari, but I'll pay more for a Ferrari than I will for a Hyundai. I don't own a Hyundai, by the way. I own a Ferrari. What does it mean? It's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Apple, some people think of computers and some people think of red apple. But for the guys like me I'm an Apple fanatic, the brand means a lot to me. I love Steve Jobs. He's one of the best entrepreneurs in the world right now. And if I say the word Marine Corps is a brand. It communicates everything, the mission, the team, the leadership, the style, the message. The Marines have a saying, we're only looking for a few good men and women. That means we just don't want to be like the Army. We have to position ourselves away from the Army, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the Navy. So brands are so vitally important as a communication tool, especially in today's over-communicated to world. There are more people competing for your customer's mind, their time. How many blogs can you read? How many magazines can you read? How many television sets can you read? How many games can you play and all this? So today, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it becomes more and more important that you become a brand. There are people who want to go into real estate, but they have the negative Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to shit. It doesn't turn to gold. And no matter what piece of real estate or no matter what stock they go into, they have a loser's mentality. And that's why I don't hang out with losers. Well, I'm a good, hard-working person. I say, I know, but you're a laborer. You're not an investor. You don't understand me. But I'm a good person. I go to church every Sunday. I work hard. I say, yeah, but you're still a loser. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. Does that make sense, guys, here? You're a loser. You're a financial loser. That's what it means. It doesn't mean I don't want a bad partner.
I only became an entrepreneur because it was the greatest challenge I could take on as far as my personal education, personal development.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to make money, and as I said, my first business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business, and the mistake I made, I was successful. And we grew internationally so fast, I just couldn't finance my success. And so I started borrowing money, and which was good. I started to learn how to raise capital. I learned how to negotiating. The reason I was in Korea fighting Taekwondo was I was out there negotiating anyway for production because we were manufacturing in Hawaii, where the cost of manufacturing was too high.
Sure.
So I had to fly to Korea and Taiwan to negotiate manufacturing I tell you, man, you're not stupid until you're negotiating against Koreans and Taiwanese, man. Those guys had me coming and going up one side and down the other. But that's what I did it for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Is to learn. And to learn to finance, learn how to factor, how to ship and then factor my inventory and all this stuff. And I learned so much as I was going broke, successfully going broke. And so when I explain to young people, that's what I did it for. That's how you get smarter. But in this academic culture, we're just talking about Jordan Peterson, how he rails up against academics. Well, in the academic culture, the person who makes the most mistakes is a stupid person. But in entrepreneur, the person that makes the most mistakes and learns from them is the rich person. So I always say to young entrepreneurs, it's not money will never make you rich. It's your experience, how much you learn, the mistakes you make, the people you make. And although there's horrible experiences, they're all good experiences if you learn from them.
Sure.
And that's the attitudinal difference of an entrepreneur. Most guys are small business guys, they're not entrepreneurs. They open a pizza shop to make money and they get stuck in that pizza shop forever. Well, that's not me. And the subject of entrepreneur is a massive subject. So you got a drug dealer peddling drugs is also an entrepreneur, as is Jeff Bezos, running the biggest product-pushing company in the whole world. They're both entrepreneurs. But the gap between the drug dealer and Bezos, massive. So when I speak to young people, I say, what kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? And if you're just here to make money, since you can do that, but it's not exciting. I'm trying to explain to you, when they tell you get out of debt, that's stupid because the money is debt. And the only way money gets out of debt is via taxes. So all the people who work for money, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's lesson number 1?
Rich people don't work for money.
Correct. Money is debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? I think the stock market is for losers. Why would you put money in the stock market when it's manipulated? That's what I think about. So I'm always watching the manipulation going on behind the scenes. That's what my brain is focusing on all the time. And I don't pay taxes. The question is, how is it I don't pay taxes? And I can tell you. That's an important question, because most Romanians and most people in the United States cheat on their taxes because they hate taxes so much. But you don't have to cheat on taxes if you understood how money was working. You think Donald Trump pays taxes? No.
Nobody has seen his tax returns.
Yeah, I know him. He's my friend. We don't pay taxes. That's the question. How is it we do that? That's an intelligent question. The reason you can't ask me this question because you don't know how I do it.
That's why I keep saying to the millennials, they're a pack of wimps. I meet millennials who are just horrifyingly weak. Snowflakes, I call them. They go to college and
doormats.
They're taught trigger events or whatever. I don't know what they say today, but they've got to have special rooms where there's no whatever. I'm going, holy mackerel. Welcome to the real world, And there's other millennials who are as tough as nails. I mean, this is the biggest opportunity they've ever had.
Right now, the book I'm reading is a personal development book. It's called Happiness Morning. That's number 1. And the second book is called The Miracle Morning and Happiness Advantage. One's written by a Harvard teacher, The Happiness Advantage, fantastic book. And the other book is Miracle Morning, written by an entrepreneur. And they say the same things, but in different ways. So I read both of them 3 times because they're so powerful. But I'm working on me. You see, the economy out there is just the economy. If you think it's a bad economy, it's because your bad economy is here. If you think it's, those jobs are tough, that's because that's you in here. And as any entrepreneur knows, it's always a good economy. No matter which way it's going, I can always make some money. It's always good. It's always opportunity. So I've got to protect the spirit or the entrepreneurial mindset inside of me. So when the markets crash, I make more money. Unfortunately, for the average person without financial education, the guy who invested for the long term, for job security, their house is an asset and all that stuff, they got wiped out. That's what happened in 2007 right here. They got wiped out by the crash and others got richer by the crash. And that's the difference.
People trying to do good by educating outside of the traditional school system where I think they're more limited.
Correct. And that's why I created the cash flow board game, is because I learned about money playing. I learned about money playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
I learned more about life playing Monopoly than I did in 4 years of college.
Yeah.
I went to a really good school, the best schools in the world, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. I came out a rich man, but it didn't teach me much about money. I was only a high-paid employee.
I just think about the economy, business, world affairs. My job is to make complex financial systems simple enough so the average person can understand it. That is extremely difficult because most people are brainwashed when it comes to money. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay your taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. Everybody who follows that program has been brainwashed. I don't even care about money. I make a lot of money because I understand the system. I would never go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. I do everything exactly opposite. Several things that I find, one more time, second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, ES. On the right side is B and I. And that's where guys like Mark Cuban and Damon Johns come from. They're professional investors. They acquire companies, they finance companies. They have what's called family offices, not home businesses or home offices. They're family offices. So I have a family office. So when I was a young man, my rich dad said to me, someday you want a family office. I said, what does that mean? I got an office. He goes, no. It's where you have a whole team of people moving your money for you because you got so much money coming in. Say too much money is a problem also because you got to keep moving it. So I have a family office, and that was part of the whole process of becoming rich, was so I could learn to have a family office. And the average guy has a 401k. Why am I kicking his butt? I don't care if he went to Harvard. I kick his butt up one side and down the other, making millions, not paying taxes, but keep moving my money.
I don't have a job. I've only had one job, and I never wanted a job after that because I had to be hungry. Not to say, but we're all different. We're humans. We're different beings. If I show you this diagram here, it's why I created my cash flow board game. Because we have 4 different intelligences. We have mental intelligence. We have, I don't know what that one is, physical intelligence. You probably have very good physical to make, football and all that.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, but spiritual intelligence. So I went to military school in New York. The first thing is spiritual. I become a Marine. It's spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're putting your life on the frickin' line.
Yeah.
So Nassim Taleb, wrote the book, The Black Swan. He also wrote Antifragile. He says there's 3 kinds of people in the world. There's fragile, and that's what our school systems are putting out. Fragile, wimpy, snowflakes. And that's your choice. You want to be that way? Have a good life. The second type is a fragile is like a champagne flute.
Yep.
You hit it, it shatters. Then the second one is called robust. And a robust person is like the rock. You can pound on them, dump on them.
Yeah.
They take it. But that's all they do. They take it. And then anti-fragile is somebody like you where they pound the crap out of you and you get smarter and better because of it. So I love Nassim Taleb. A lot of people call him Dr. Doom. But the way I look at this whole thing, this economy, we're probably going into a depression. We're not going to get out of this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so the thing is this good for you or bad for you? I'm looking forward to it. The last crash was 2008, and I made more money in 2008 than in my whole life. So this one here, 2020? I'm going to get even richer. But other people are going to get poor, and if they're baby boomers, they're going to blame it on this coronavirus. Oh, my health. Hey, hit the road, put on some running shoes, change your diet, get some sunlight. Get healthy. Don't be a wimp. But, oh, no, I'm so afraid of dying. I'm going, you're already dead. You don't even know it yet. In the Marine Corps, we used to call them corpse people.
Right. Corpse, not core. Yeah.
A corpseman. No, a corpseman. A corpseman is a person who's dead but doesn't know it.
What should the people understand about this way of living? Because we cannot all be entrepreneurs. Some people need to get some jobs. Or should we all try and look at how we can change our lives in the way you show it in your books and your keynotes?
It's up to the person. It's up to the person. It's a free choice. You want to be an employee, you choose to be an employee. You want to be an entrepreneur, you choose to be an entrepreneur, but you've got to study. They're two different people. What you have to study is different. Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're different people. An entrepreneur is extremely different than an employee. But it's a different study. The trouble is our school system trains us to be employees. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay your taxes, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That makes you poor. The biggest thing for an entrepreneur is you've got to learn how to make mistakes. And the school punishes you for making mistakes. Second, you have to operate in a team. You know, everybody talks about team, except in school. If you take tests as a team, you're called cheaters.
Yeah.
So just those two mind constructs. The average guy goes out there afraid of making a mistake and starts a business and they make mistakes, obviously. Then they don't have a team.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want a top 50 on David Goggins, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
If you're playing, and I talked about it at your conference, if you're playing Roger Federer, okay, before you get on the court with Roger Federer, he's the best of all time.